the number one thing that kills a closer's success is scarcity. I went from a personal trainer with no prior sales experience to rising to over $20,000 in commission per month, and I've closed over $56,062 in a single day. And the biggest key to my success was breaking out of a scarcity mindset. Now let me explain why this is the biggest factor that's holding you back as a closer from achieving the results that you're looking for. Now, the big misconception around scarcity is that it's about how much money you have in the bank account. How much security do you have to fall back on? How much is in those savings? But that is just not the case. Scarcity comes from how you make decisions above all else. Scarcity makes you protect what you currently have, whereas abundance makes you expand what's actually possible. So a way of thinking in this example comes down to you've broken into the space, you've likely invested a few $1,000s into your skill set to work with a coach or a community that can actually help you get your foot in the door and build your skill set up to where it needs to be. You've pushed yourself into a poor, perhaps more strenuous financial position in order to do so. So now what do you tell yourself? I need to make that money back, and I've got to cling on to the money that I have until I do so. But the moment you cling to something, the moment you grip on tightly, it actually starts to repel. Your grip starts to give because you can only hold on to something so hard for so long before your grip strength yields and you fall. Think of it as you're hanging onto a rope as hard as you can. You're straining your muscles. The lactic acid is building up. You're putting all of that pressure on yourself. Eventually, you're going to give. An abundance mentality comes from the concept and the idea that regardless of your current circumstance, regardless of the number inside of your bank account, if you continue pushing through fear, if you continue to invest into your skill set, you have the necessary capability to make that money back and more. So the external elements, the financial side of things is almost meaningless, because it doesn't matter how poor of a financial position you put yourself into, as long as you're taking the necessary steps and necessary action toward developing your skill set, developing these key elements that you're going to need, you'll make it back. You'll get to your goal. You'll get to your vision. It is coming to you. That is the mentality as a closer you have to adopt if you want to become that individual. If you begin to tell yourself, I can't invest any further, I can't push myself into a more stressful environment because I'm already at my wit's end, then guess what? You're going to remain in that perpetual cycle. And this is the cycle that you fall into. You fall into a scarcity mindset. You tell yourself, my skill set isn't necessarily where it needs to be. I feel as though I definitely could make improvements, but in order for me to actually invest and work with somebody else who can provide me that, I would need to put a few more $1,000s into myself. And I already feel as though I've not made that much money over the last couple months, so I'll have to wait. I'll wait till I've built up more of a nest egg, and then I'll be able to invest, and then I'll be able to get to the level that I want. This is scarcity. You're telling yourself that if you invest, the result and the outcome isn't guaranteed. And of course, it isn't. Nothing's guaranteed in life. But the only guarantee you can give yourself is the certainty and conviction inside of here. If you put yourself into this scarcity mentality, you avoid further investment, which will actually grant you the skills that you need to improve. It will lead to slow growth. You are stunting your capacity and capability. Slower growth will lead to limited opportunities, and as your opportunities remain limited, you'll go into even further scarcity. And this is the trap that a lot of beginner closers fall into. They see this dream sold to them online from the gurus and the mentors that tell them, invest $5,000 into me and within 3 months' time you're going to be taking sales calls from a laptop on the beach. They invest $5,000 into themselves and they begin to build those foundations, that core understanding of sales, understand levels to sales psychology. However, they get to a point where they think, you know what? I feel as though I could still improve further. Maybe I should work with somebody else. That individual really aligns with me. I feel as though they could definitely help me. However, because you've yet to earn your money back, because you've yet to actually reach the point where you're making the 10, the 15, the $20,000 per month, you tell yourself, I'll hold off. I'll wait on that until I've reached this point, until I've reached this level, and that's when I'll take action. But you're putting yourself into this trap because the highest performers, the individuals who you see that are actually making over $20,000 per month, they take fast action. They don't allow this fear to hold them back. They will invest and invest and invest because even if they push themselves into temporary debt, they know that the most valuable attribute in their life is time. Money we can make back. That is always a possibility, but time is a finite resource. Once you have spent that time in your life, it's gone forever. The time you have to spend with your loved ones, the time you have to enjoy this present moment and take a big deep breath of air and look out the window at the sky and see the birds, the moment you've done that, it's gone forever. And if you continue fixating on money as the vision, the goal, and the obstacle, then time will just creep and drip away from you, and you'll be losing that precious resource. Individuals that reach that pinnacle of success do not allow that to happen. They say, I will continue to push myself into discomfort because that is where I grow. And they'll break this cycle here. I'll invest once I've saved more money. This classic line, and if you're hearing this right now and thinking, I've said that before, maybe even you're currently saying that to yourself, think of the trap you're falling into here. Because if you invest once you've saved more money, that's almost like saying, I'll start working with a coach in regard to my health and fitness once I've already put the work in over the next couple of years to get the six-pack. However, if you bit the bullet, invested into that coach and worked with someone specifically to achieve your aim, you'd acquire that six-pack in a much shorter time frame. You would actually be able to reach your goal, which would then bring you that reward, give you that positive feedback loop and break you out of this cycle. That's the key. So if you're telling yourself this, I'll invest once I have more money, it's not quite the right time. I'll invest after this wedding, after this birthday, after Christmas. All you are doing is putting further time between stepping into the shoes of the identity you need to embody in order to be that successful individual who can achieve your aims, give back to your family, travel the world, appreciate life for what it is. The right time is created by the decision itself. You are the architect of your own life and your own future. And the only thing you can guarantee is the decision you make in the present moment. You may have fallen into the trap before, and you've probably heard me say, you are the objection that you embody. You've probably said, look, I really want to do this. I just think it would make more sense if I took a night to sleep on it, a night to think on this. Maybe even, I get paid on Thursday, so I'll pay on Friday just because I've got that bit extra in my bank account to cover these expenses for the week. What are you really doing? You are choosing to push off the moment of decision, the moment of discomfort, and you're choosing the comfortable option. That's all you are doing there. And if you continue being the individual who chooses the comfortable option, you will never have the characteristics and attributes you need to get the success regardless. Because if you do not embody that individual now, before you've gotten the results, you'll never be able to achieve them. This is the problem. It's like saying, I really want to quit cigarettes. I've been a smoker for years. I want to quit smoking. I really do. I believe this can help me to do so. I'll start on Monday. I'll start on Monday. How many times have you heard that? How many times have you heard somebody say that? All they're doing is pushing things off. And you cannot continue to do that because it will become a habitual pattern. You have to break it with fast action. It's the only remedy. Decision will lead to action. Action will lead to momentum. And momentum will lead to opportunity. This point here, decision, is more important than anything else. Because if somebody decides to push something off initially, even if they do start on Monday, even if they do follow through with their word, they didn't follow through with their word when it really mattered. They followed through when it was more comfortable regardless. So when things get even more uncomfortable, which they will do if you're on a journey of growth, because if you head to the gym and lift 2-kilogram dumbbells every single day, you're not going to grow. Your muscles won't develop unless you push yourself past your previous limit. You push yourself to make a decision that you've never made before. Oh, I always take 24 hours to think on big decisions like this. Of course you do. That's why you're here. That's why you're not where you want to be. In order for you to get to that level, you need to change the way in which you operate. Change the way in which you actually make decisions. That's the key. That's the moment of decision. And that will lead to action. And the moment you instigate action, it's going to raise your vibrational frequency and put you into a new, powerful state. And this powerful state will carry you through to momentum. And there's nothing more powerful than that. The moment you start to say, hold on, I actually feel great. I actually feel like for the first time, I've seized control of the present moment and I've done all I can to give myself the best possible chance of success. That's going to fuel you. That's going to fire you up. And then guess what? You'll devote yourself wholeheartedly to making this happen, to making this work, because you've just invested thousands of dollars into yourself. You've just faced this fear. You've got those butterflies, that anxiety in your chest. There's always going to be that little voice saying, what if it doesn't work? What if I lose money? What if I fail? But you're battling it because that's the type of individual you're now choosing to be. And the moment you do that, that momentum begins. And then from there, opportunity arises because people look to you and they say, wow, he really does put his money where his mouth is. He really has taken serious action now. So the probability of his success has just skyrocketed. I want to be like that guy. And then you become a source of inspiration, which is why you will begin to close more deals, why you will begin to break through these past commission barriers and actually get that income that you've been after. Scarcity is emotional safety. That's all it is. Taking action is a risk. There's the problem. And all your mind is trying to do is keep you safe. It's not trying to sabotage you. It's not trying to trick you. It says, this is the way in which we've always made decisions up until this point. We've been okay and we've been safe. If I now invest this large sum of money into myself, that could cause fear, that could cause anxiety, that's going to cause pressure. And pressure is frightening. Pressure puts that weight back onto your shoulders and says, man, I really need to push myself now. So your brain says, whatever we do not want pressure. We want comfort, we want security. And unless you take control of your own mind, that's exactly where you'll stay. You'll stay in that pool of contentment. And what a lot of people don't realize, there was a study done on toads where scientists, they got a large group of toads and they actually popped them all into a pot of water. Now, what they did, not the most animal-friendly study, what they did, they popped the toads into this pot of water and they gradually turned the heat up, nice and steadily. And what ended up happening is because the water's temperature rose at such a gradual rate, the frogs or the toads didn't quite realize. So their energy started to become sapped by the heat. Then by the time the water had actually reached boiling point, had reached that critical level, they were too tired to jump out and they died. And the concept of that study is that if your environment has such minor, gradual changes over time, it's not drastic enough to spark immediate action. It's not drastic enough to make you actually change. And then it's too late. That's the problem. Your mind will trick you until it is too late. It's why you see people become so overweight they can barely help themselves. It's because it's gradual. It takes time for them to get to that point, but once they're there, it seems hopeless for them, and it's so much harder to get back to the life they want to live. This is what scarcity as a closer will bring you. Because you seek emotional safety, and you have to break that pattern. People who need growth the most often avoid investment the most. I'll say that again. People who need growth the most often avoid investment the most. And this is a huge problem in the space, because think of it this way. An individual who doesn't have too much money says, I need to invest $5,000 into my skill set to build myself up into becoming the person who's then capable of making $20,000 a month. But I don't have that much money at the moment, so I'm going to have to wait until I've saved up X amount, then it's more of a comfortable decision to make, then I'll take the step to invest, then I'll get the skills, then I'll make the money. That's counterintuitive. An individual who actually already makes $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 per month knows that the most valuable thing they can do is invest in themselves whenever they feel a gap in their skill. Whenever they feel like they could earn even a 1% better chance of success, they will take it. They will seize it by the horns. And that's why they are there. That's why they're where you want to be. It's because they acted and embodied that characteristic before they got there. The one thing you are currently not doing. And you need to act and think as though you already have all of the money in the world. You need to act and think as if you already have all of the success you want. Because if you do so, then you will already be that person. Therefore, that person is destined to come to you, destined to be your future. If you tell yourself, I'm not that person yet, I don't have that money yet, I'm not a millionaire, of course you're not. You're not identifying as one, so therefore you're not. If you identify as somebody who says, let's look at what these people have done to reach that level of success, let's replicate that, let's copy that identically, guess what will happen? You will follow that same trail, follow that same course, and get there. Scarcity repels opportunity above all else, because success loves speed. The moment you put yourself into this mentality and mindset of, I need this, I need that, what are you really telling yourself and telling your mind? You're telling yourself you don't currently have it. I need it, I don't have it. I need it, I don't have it. If you tell yourself, that money, I already have, it's coming my way, I'm focusing on my inputs day after day, I'm taking every necessary step possible to give myself the best possible chance of success, that will be coming toward you. Plain and simple. It's the law of attraction. It will be moving toward you, and there's no way of getting off that track as long as you stay true and you don't give up. That's the thing. And speed, above all else, is the number one indicator of high success. People who have reached that top pinnacle, that top echelon, they don't take a day to mull on a decision. They don't take a week to get the finances and the funding together. They say, what can I do right now in the present moment to become resourceful enough to spark fast action, to bring about momentum, to then bring about opportunity? They'll do whatever it takes because they're that type of man. And if you aren't willing to be that person, then you do not deserve success. And if you don't deserve success, which subconsciously you will be telling yourself, you won't acquire it. You can only acquire what you deep-rooted feel you deserve. And if you think, man, I'm really not living up to the person I want to be, I'm letting fear take over. I'm falling into this trap of scarcity. I don't truly wholeheartedly believe that I'm the individual that's capable of getting to that point and capable of facing up to this and willing to put myself into debt and willing to find a way to make something happen. You don't deserve it. And your body, your mind will keep it away from you. I can assure you that. That's the one thing you actually are guaranteeing yourself, if that's the way in which you're operating and thinking. Act and behave as if already successful, because this will change your thought patterns. It will change your thought loops, because the moment of decision, action, momentum, and opportunity, the moment of decision is what snaps you out of that past identity. You're not tied down to it. Even if you've been that person for years on end, you've pushed things off, and that's just not the way in which you've acted or behaved, one decision can change that. And your life can change so quickly, faster than you'd ever believe. I was a personal trainer. I had no prior sales experience. I was waking up day after day for years thinking, it's not too bad, but is this really the life that I want to be living? Is this my dream? Is this going to allow me to give back to my family, to live in the house I want, to drive the car I want, to go the places I want? No, it wasn't. So I formulated a plan. How can I change my circumstance? Number one, find an opportunity vehicle. That happened to be high ticket closing. Number two, pay somebody who's been where you already want to be so that you can get there quicker, because time is more valuable than anything else in life. Once I develop that skill set, who's next? I've gotten everything from this individual. Who else can help me? What other community is going to help me get to where I want to be? And it's why over the last year and a half, I've worked with over 5 different coaches and mentors. Because if one of those coaches can give me one piece of advice that the other can't, that actually moves the needle forward for me, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to embody a more successful, competent individual. And the only way in which I made that happen was by facing up to fear time and time and time again. Because it never necessarily gets easier. The fear always enlarges, because realistically, you're only going to be investing more and more money, taking larger and larger risks. But you become a better man. You become a man that's actually capable and competent enough to deal with that pressure, because you face up to it. It's like cold water therapy. The more you push yourself into an ice cold bath, the longer you can stay in one. It's like breath work. The longer you practice breath work, the longer you can hold your breath. It's the exact same with success. The more you face up to fear, the larger risks you take, the better person you become to handle the pressure. Therefore, the better chance of success and greatness you have. And if you are listening to this right now and feel as though you have been allowing these limitations to hold you back, you have been falling into the scarcity cycle and trap, telling yourself that things are okay, you'll avoid the investment for now, you'll grow slower, you'll limit your opportunities until eventually you've got enough and then you'll invest. Just think about the type of person you are being and whether that is the individual that the prospect on your call will buy into. Do you really have the characteristics of a leader? Do you really have conviction in your own life? So how on earth do you feel as though you can hold up the mirror to them and have them do the same and invest a large sum into themselves on your calls? You will not be able to. Sales is the law of the mirror. So, the biggest lesson that I want you to take from this is that we have to kill scarcity and we have to embody abundance above all else. Sit down, take a deep breath, visualize the life that you are going to be living a year from now. I went from making $3,000 a month to $20,000 a month in 1 year with no prior sales experience. That's how much changed for me in such a short span of time by breaking this loop. This was the key to all of my success. Nothing outside of this. This is the number one. So take a deep breath, visualize who you are a year from now. What characteristics do they have? What steps have they needed to take to get to that point? and draw yourself out a plan of action. Because this is all well and good, but if you don't integrate what you've heard here and what you've listened to, it will be meaningless. Trust me, this will just be another piece of content that you've mindlessly consumed and then gone on about your merry life thinking the exact same way before you jumped on this video. So write it down, grab a piece of paper and create a plan. Who are you? Write down the characteristic traits, write down where you are, write down what watch you have on, write down what car you're in, write down everything you can possibly think of. Think of that dream, think of that vision. And once we've got that crystal clear in your mind, what do you need to do to get there? And I can assure you, the very first step, and this will likely bring a smile to your face once you see it, is snapping yourself out of this mentality, taking fast action, jumping onto a community or working with somebody who can push you further along this course in a much faster time frame. And within 1 year, I want you to come back to this video and drop a comment. I seriously do. Drop a comment and let me know how this has actually changed your life. Because you are not going to be the person any longer that continues with this old way of thinking that does not serve them. You are going to become the man who takes control of the one thing he can, which is this present moment. And that alone will guarantee you greater success.